Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turing Test Podcast. I'm Jamie, and today we're diving into a topic that's really crucial in today's tech landscape, AI and the right to explanation. With me is Rachel, who always has some pretty strong opinions on these things. How's it going, Rachel?
Hey, Jamie. Doing well. Thanks. Yeah, this is a topic that's been getting a lot of attention lately. You know, with all the advancements in AI, it's like super important to understand how these algorithms make decisions.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, we see AI everywhere now, from social media algorithms to like predictive policing. And people are starting to ask, how are these decisions being made and do we have a right to know? So, Rachel, what's your take on this?
Well, to be honest, I think it's kind of a mixed bag. On one hand, transparency is crucial. People should know how decisions that affect their lives are being made. But on the other hand, there's the issue of like trade secrets and the complexity of these algorithms. It's not always easy to explain in layman's terms, you know?
Yeah, I get that. But like if an AI denies you a loan or decides your parole status, shouldn't you have the right to know why? I mean, these are life-changing decisions.
Sure. But let's not forget that even human decision makers aren't always transparent. I mean, how many times have you heard of someone being denied a loan without a clear explanation? It's not just an AI problem, it's a systemic issue.
True, but AI has the potential to like amplify these issues. And unlike humans, AI can process vast amounts of data and make decisions based on patterns we might not even see. That makes it even more important to have some form of explanation, don't you think?
Yeah. But the explanations we get from AI might not always be satisfying. Like if an algorithm says you were denied a loan because of your credit score, that's not really different from what a human would say. The real issue is understanding the underlying factors and biases that go into these decisions.
Right, and that's where things get tricky. AI can inherit biases from the data it's trained on. So even if we get an explanation, it might not address the root cause. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Exactly. And there's also the issue of interpretability. Some AI models, like deep learning networks, are like black boxes. Even the developers might not fully understand how they work. So how do we explain something we don't fully understand ourselves?
That's a good point. But there are efforts to make AI more interpretable. Techniques like LIME and SHAPE are being developed to like provide insights into how these models make decisions. It's not perfect, but it's a start.
Yeah, but those techniques are still like in their infancy, and they might not always be applicable to every situation. Plus, there's the issue of like information overload. If we provide too much detail, people might get lost in the weeds and miss the bigger picture.
True. But isn't it better to have too much information than too little? I mean, at least people would have the option to dig deeper if they want to. It's about empowering individuals, right?
Sure, but we also need to consider the practical aspects. Not everyone has the time or expertise to understand these explanations. We need to find a balance between transparency and usability.
Absolutely. And speaking of balance, let's take a quick break. By the way, so before we continue, just a quick shout out to Augmented AI, the producer of the Turing Test Podcast. Augmented AI hosts a variety of cutting-edge courses in generative AI, large language models, edge AI, robotics, and computer vision. You can get a free generative AI course at bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast or go to www.augmentedstartups.com.
All right, back to the topic. So, Jamie, what do you think about the role of regulations in this? Should governments step in to mandate transparency in AI?
Definitely. I think regulations can play a crucial role in ensuring that companies are held accountable. But the challenge is creating regulations that are flexible enough to adapt to the rapidly changing tech landscape.
Yeah, and there's also the risk of stifling innovation. If regulations are too strict, companies might be discouraged from developing new AI technologies. It's a delicate balance.
True, but without regulations, we risk a Wild West scenario where anything goes. And that can lead to some pretty serious consequences, especially when it comes to privacy and discrimination.
Absolutely. And speaking of privacy, there's also the issue of data collection. AI systems rely on massive amounts of data to function. So how do we ensure that this data is collected and used ethically?
That's a tough one. I mean, data is the lifeblood of AI, but we need to be careful about how it's collected and used. Consent and transparency are key. People should know what data is being collected and how it's being used.
Yeah, but how many people actually read those terms and conditions? Most of us just click agree without thinking twice. So even if companies are transparent, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are fully informed.
True. But that's where education comes in. We need to raise awareness about these issues and encourage people to be more mindful about their data. It's a collective effort.
Speaking of collective efforts, there's also the role of the tech community. Developers and researchers need to prioritize ethics and transparency in their work. It's not just about creating powerful AI, but also about creating responsible AI.
Definitely. And that's where initiatives like AI ethics boards and guidelines come into play. They can help ensure that AI development is aligned with ethical principles.
Yeah, but guidelines are only as good as their enforcement. We need to make sure that companies are actually following these guidelines and not just paying lip service to them.
Absolutely. That's where public pressure can make a difference. Consumers have the power to demand more transparency and accountability from companies. It's about using our voices to drive change.
Right? And speaking of using our voices, let's not forget the role of whistleblowers. They can shine a light on unethical practices and hold companies accountable.
Definitely. Whistleblowers play a crucial role in exposing wrongdoing, but they also need protection. We need to create an environment where people feel safe to speak out.
And speaking of speaking out, let's hear from our listeners. We've got some questions and comments coming in. Okay, here's one from Sarah in New York. She asks, how can we ensure that AI doesn't perpetuate existing biases? That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a big one. AI can definitely perpetuate biases if it's trained on biased data. So one way to address this is by diversifying the data sets used to train AI. We also need to continuously monitor and audit AI systems to identify and mitigate biases.
I think it's also about involving diverse perspectives in the development process. If the teams creating AI are diverse, they're more likely to consider different viewpoints and address potential biases.
Speaking of diverse perspectives, let's take another question. This one's from Mike in San Francisco. He asks, do you think AI will ever be able to fully explain its decisions? That's an interesting one.
Well, I think it depends on the type of AI. Some models like decision trees are inherently interpretable, but more complex models like deep learning networks are much harder to explain. So while we might get better at interpreting AI decisions, I don't think we'll ever reach a point where every decision is fully explainable.
Yeah, I agree. It's an ongoing challenge, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. We need to keep pushing for more transparency and better interpretability.
Absolutely. And speaking of pushing for more, let's wrap this up with a final thought. Jamie, what's your takeaway from this discussion?
Well, I think it's clear that the right to explanation is crucial in the age of AI. We need to balance transparency with practicality and ensure that AI systems are ethical and accountable. It's a collective effort that involves regulators, developers, and consumers.
My takeaway is that we need to prioritize ethics and transparency in AI development. It's not just about creating powerful AI, but also about creating responsible AI. And we all have a role to play in this.
On that note, don't forget to check out Augmented AI University to upgrade your skills and become an AI expert fast. Go to bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast to enroll in your free cutting-edge AI course at augmentedstartups.com. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you next time.